So, a couple of days ago, I made a video for you all called If You Hold Altcoins, This Is For You. And in that video, I told you exactly what to be on the lookout for in the altcoin market right now, because most cryptos were running into massive zones of support and were trying to build higher lows that I thought slash think could lead them to the upside. And I told you, watch very closely what these altcoins do at these key levels of support, because if they hold, that's great. If they don't hold, not so great. And I wanted to make today's video kind of as just a follow-up to what we talked about in this video, because most altcoins are starting to produce some really interesting signals now that they're trying to hold these support levels. And I think you need to pay very close attention to what's happening there, because it is getting interesting. Now, for a quick recap of what's happening in the market right now, it's honestly not been that interesting of a week so far. Like, we are just barely down for most alts, but it's really not even all that bad. And if you look at the top 10, for example, like in the last 24 hours, we have ETH barely down, we have XRP barely up, we have BNB barely up, we have Solana barely down. I mean, just a lot of barely ups and barely downs through the majority of the top 100, which is obviously reflected here. Now, one weird thing that I did notice is that's not the case for all of your ranges. So like if you go head out to say like the 300 to the 400, you can see like Light, Ruji, Audio, WKC are actually holding up really well. And of course, X and Y and Edge aren't looking so good, but a lot of alts are actually kind of bouncing and pumping right now, which is kind of weird. I'm not going to lie. But then what's even more weird is that you go to 400 to 500 and you're starting to see it still translate there. Now you're seeing a little bit more red in the 400 to 500, but then you go down to 500 to 600. Look at this. AIoT, Uranus, Vita, like you're seeing some decent performance across some of your micro caps. 600 to 700 is a little bit ugly. 700 to 800. I mean, look at this. Tuna, Lunar Rabbits, BSU, UTK, Spark, Flay. And obviously, it's easier for these ones to be in the green because their market caps are smaller. But generally speaking, on boring times in the market, you're going to see liquidity rotate back towards the more safe things, not kind of the opposite. And we're actually seeing some pretty decent performance across these, top 500, 600, 700 cryptos, which is cool. I mean, look at Inspect. You guys know I had recently added Inspect to my bag. Inspect's up 33 points just within the last 24 hours. And sure, it is still down a little bit on the week, but look at the month. On the month, this bad boy's still up over 73%. Over the year, it's still up 160%. Now, to be fair with Inspect, they have had some pretty big announcements, so it does make sense as to why they are performing well. Like, I remember they had that big European, they had that big European exchange launch over on Bitpanda just a couple days ago. That was a week ago. And then right after that, they dropped the opt-in for Substrike, which is obviously another big thing that people are looking forward to with the tech. So Inspect is a little bit different because they actually have a reason for people to be buying the dip, because they're actually producing things and they're releasing things and they're growing the tech, they're growing the token, they're doing well. So Inspect, again, that one does make sense, but some of these other ones don't really have much of a reason. They're just doing good. And I guess it's cool. It is just weird. I honestly don't even know why I went down this rabbit hole. I don't have a particular reason as to why I'm even telling you this. It is just kind of weird and it's something to watch out for. But obviously, those of you who are still in the trenches and who are still buying those micro caps in moments like this, well, you're probably looking okay, which is pretty cool, right? I mean, look at API theory. I mean, geez. So anywho, so that's kind of what we're noticing with the altcoin market from the top 100 to say the top 1,000. But when we do zoom into the top 10, that's where all the juicy signals come from. Because sure, we might be seeing the altcoin market performing okay, right? Like we might be seeing the top 500, 600, 700, whatever. We might be seeing them perform good right now. But the truth is, it does all come down to what we see from the macros, right? What does Bitcoin do? What does the top 10 do? That's what it all comes down to. So I kind of just want to jump through a couple of the ones in the top 10 and show you what they're doing, because by the end of this quick little analysis session, you'll come to realize they're all doing something very similar. So remember, in that last video, I told you to be on the lookout because most altcoins were coming down. They're going to try to find a higher low of support and see if they can bounce back to the upside. That's what I told you to be on the lookout for. Let's kind of look at how that's going right now. So what we can see is that Ethereum's price has continued to pull back. Ethereum did get rejected off the red zone of resistance. This is a zone of resistance we mapped out way before ETH did run into it up here. And the reason we knew this was going to be a massive zone of resistance is just because of this, right? Once we saw ETH break the green zone, I said, listen, don't get too far ahead of yourselves. Don't get too excited. Although we broke the green zone, that's just step number one. We still need to do step number two, which is get above the red zone. We had never come all the way back up to this previous point of resistance yet. So it's extremely important that we wait to see if ETH can break above that before getting too excited, and gladly we made that move, because what you can see is that ETH has now started pulling back. ETH is now currently down right around 10% off of hitting that key zone of resistance, and it is actually looking pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Since that last video, Ethereum has now created a descending channel. We have seen the 4-hour RSI get as low as the 35 level. It's bouncing and finding some support right around this previous point of liquidity right here, which could easily serve as support. And we are seeing things like the Bollinger Bands, for example, getting a pretty solid reset, not only on the 4-hour, but a decent reset here on the 1 day as we're almost nearly back to the 20-day simple moving average. So what this means is that it doesn't guarantee, obviously, that ETH is about to just absolutely send back to the upside, but it has a pretty decent chance of either in the gray zone or the green zone building support and breaking to the upside. I actually do think that is what is going to happen for ETH. I think ETH is either going to build support right here, right above 41.76, and use this support, trying to use that support to get out of this box, or it's going to go for one more capitulation. Maybe we nosedive into the oversold territory. We see that 20 simple moving average on the dailies or something get met, and then we see ETH try to give us a bounce towards the upside. And so I think overall, what ETH is doing is actually very bullish, and I don't think people recognize it. I don't think people are looking at ETH in a bullish perspective at all right now. I think they're looking at it like it just got rejected to the downside, whereas that, even though that is the case, you have to look at the rejection. You have to look at what the rejection looks like, because this looks to me like a sort of rejection that will lead back upwards. Matter of fact, if you look at ETH on the 7-day liquidation charts, look at how many liquidations sit to the upside. On the 7-day, we have $7 billion worth of liquidations at 4,700. On the 30-day, we have, what is that? $8.9 billion worth of liquidations right up there at $5,000, already barely above the downside liquidations, which is crazy considering ETH is just below its all-time high. And even on the 24-hour, we're seeing more liquidations to the top side than the bottom side. So there's a lot of liquidations that will occur if ETH does make this move upwards. And so I kind of think it's going to try to make some sort of bounce. So I'm watching these key zones of support very closely. Again, the two key levels are the gray zone between 41.74 and 4,300. And if that one fails, I do expect ETH to come back down and possibly try to flip this previous point of resistance into support. Get that macro RS flip here on the green zone, then use that to push upwards. So ETH is actually looking pretty good, and I do like what I'm seeing from ETH right now. Now, if you do want to trade a little bit of ETH and many more, you can actually check out my link to BTCC down below. Guys, if you sign up specifically with my link, you're going to get up to $10,000 in bonuses and lower trading fees, which is a fantastic deal. So I explained the deal a little bit in this video, and actually I'll give you a walkthrough of the exchange in this video. So if you want to check that out, feel free to check the link down in the description down below, and do stay tuned. I do have a really cool competition that we're going to be doing pretty soon here that you're going to be really excited to hear about. So check all that stuff out. The link is down below. Let me know what you think. Now, that's Ethereum. Let's move on to XRP, because XRP is starting to look very, very similar. So what you can see is that XRP's price is making a similar move in its own way. XRP's price got rejected off the top side. This is the top side golden zone, as you can see right here, right? Top side golden zone, this resistance level, this golden zone of resistance, it got rejected off of it, and now it's coming back down to the bottom side golden zone. Now, as it's coming to the bottom side golden zone, you can see the 4-hour RSI just very, very barely touched the 30 level on the RSI. You can see that your Bollinger Bands did get overextended to the downside. The daily the daily Bollinger Bands right here, as you can see, we did fall below the 20 simple moving average. So we are getting very close to the bottom side of that Bollinger Band envelope again. And we are seeing the daily RSI below the 50 level for the first time in a while. So because of that, what this means to me is that XRP is resetting very strongly. Now, does this guarantee that XRP is about to make this move? Of course not. Nothing can guarantee that. But it does mean we have a decent chance here. I think this zone between 285 and 296 is going to be a very strong zone of support for XRP that should try to hold its price up. Now, don't get me wrong. If we lose the support, we're probably going to see XRP come all the way back down to 256. So there is still the risk of a pullback, but this is a good sign and signal to show that we are seeing our indicators getting reset as XRP is getting closer and closer to a massive zone of support. So for XRP, it's very simple. We're seeing the reset happen. We're hitting key levels of support. We're seeing the bulls start to shift the tide. It doesn't guarantee we're going to pump, but it does show very good signs that if XRP does keep, continuing to try to find the support, we should get that pushed. But even if it doesn't, I still think that even if XRP does push back one more time, we will bounce towards the upside. Another thing that I did think about the other day is that if XRP does make the worst case scenario move and say it does come back down to say 258, that does create some sort of more macro descending channel, right? And I actually wouldn't mind this at all. I think this would be a great opportunity to accumulate some XRP before this bad boy does start trying to say make another move to the upside later on, right? This will be like September, October. So one way or another, with me, I'm cool with it. It's like, okay, option number one is we bounce off the zone of support, we start pushing higher next. Worst case scenario is we pull, we kind of pull to the downside, at which point I think we'll create the descending channel. Now we'll be able to get our buys in. We can start trading this channel, make some gains in the channel, let this bad boy break, and continue to ride our long-term bags up. I mean, neither one of those are a bad option. So for XRP, to me, I think this is a pretty good thing. I think it looks pretty good. Solana's a little bit of a different story. Not loving what I'm seeing here from Solana, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. Whenever I look at Sol, what I'm looking at right now is this blue line of support. What you can see is that we had this blue line of support and we lost it. Since we lost it, and I told you this on my Instagram, I said, listen, when Solana or if Solana loses this blue level of support, I do think it's going to try to come back down towards like $173. It did get towards $176, so we just barely missed that breakdown target. But as this is happening, we're seeing a beautiful reset from Solana. It's getting closer and closer to a massive level of support. We're seeing, of course, the golden Fibonacci zone holding up decently, but what you can also see is that Solana on the shorter time frames is also putting in that descending structure, right? And remember, these descending structures have histories of breaking upwards. So even if Solana's price does continue down a little bit, I do think Solana will try to find some support and we'll try to push back up to say like 190, maybe 195, $185. So yeah, Solana is pulling back, but at the end of the day, it is giving us some signals and some structure here that imply that we could see some sort of breakout and pump sometime. Now, when, I honestly don't know. We do have a lot of things going on in the White House and macroeconomically, geopolitically, and much more right now. So there is a little bit going on there that could shake the market up. But at the end of the day, it is showing us that even though we're seeing Solana resetting, it is resetting very well, and that could lead it to see some pump soon. Same thing with SWI. Now, I am going to start to speed the ball up here because I don't want to bore you, but look at SWI. SWI's price comes back down to the golden Fibonacci zone. It is building up some support. We're seeing that 4-hour RSI, it got all the way down to the 34 level. If we do look at the Bollinger Bands on the 4-hour charts, we are towards the bottom side, showing a very good extension downwards. On the daily Bollinger Bands, we are just below that 20-day simple moving average, which could imply we have a little bit further down to go, but it doesn't guarantee it. We are below the 50 level on the daily RSI, so that is, of course, pretty good. So whenever I look at SWI is showing us some pretty decent signs that, again, even if it does continue downwards, I do think that at worst, it'll come back down to, say, $3, and then it'll try to make some sort of beautiful move upwards. SWI is another one that if it does start to break to the downside, I do think it would start to confirm that we are creating some sort of descending structure that will lead upwards. I'm very confident in that. I do think it will lead to a breakout upwards. So SWI is also in a good spot. And the answer with SWI is, again, it'll either bounce now and go up, or it'll come back down and then bounce and then try to go back up. One way or another, it does seem to me as if recovery is on the way for SWI. Question is, do we go a little bit further first or not? XLM, same exact thing. What you can see, XLM got rejected off the top side golden zone, got rejected off resistance, coming back down, finding some support, creating some sort of little descending structure here, which definitely could break upwards. But while that is happening, the 4-hour RSI is getting overcorrected. We are seeing bullish divergence forming right here on this 4-hour RSI, both of which and all of which just says that XLM is finding some beautiful support that definitely could lead it upward at this golden zone. If it doesn't lead it upwards off this golden zone and it does pull towards the bottom side, I think at worst it'll go down towards 33.7 cents. But at that point, it will be again creating some sort of descending structure that will lead us upwards. I do genuinely again believe it will do something like that. Okay, so the picture is the same. And I'm not going to just go on and on and on. I think you get it. Most of these cryptos got rejected off a massive zone of resistance. They're starting to see beautiful resets downwards. As they're getting close to support, they're seeing some really good signals and signs that say that if they can hold some support here, we might see the bouncing next. But if they need a little bit more time and they need a little bit more capitulation, they should create structures that will then allow for the bounce. So the bounce is coming soon. I genuinely believe that. It's getting closer. The question is, do we see these alts hold the support now, or do they go a little bit lower and then hold the macro support for the bigger bounce? I think one of those two options is coming. So this is actually pretty good signs. I'm actually pretty happy about this. It does make me feel good because my altcoin backs haven't been looking that great over the last week. I mean, you guys feel it, right? Like the last week's not been fantastic. It's not been terrible. It's just not been great. It's kind of just in the middle. So with that in mind, I do think things are coming for the altcoin market that could be pretty strong. So the best thing to do from this point forward, if I was you all, is if you do have some decent bags that you want to add on to right now, I think small dollar cost averages in those bags isn't a bad idea if it was my personal portfolio. And again, I can't guarantee results. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you advice. I'm just telling you in my, depending on what my situation would look like, right? Like if I was in a spot where I had some decent bags that were maybe a little bit down, I had a little bit of cash, maybe I'll throw a little bit of my cash into those positions just to DCA, just in case we do bounce. But I would still be storing a little bit of cash to the side in order to capitalize on that next dip, because I think the next dip, if we do get it, would be an opportunity, because I do think it would be followed by some sort of recovery. So I think small DCAs right now aren't a bad idea. I wouldn't be opening up any big leverage long trades, or definitely not short trades or any of that right now, just because I think that we're still in like manipulative territory. Like if you look at Ethereum's, again, liquidation map on the 1 day, you can see what I mean. Like on the 1 day, there are still liquidations to the downside and there's liquidations to the upside. So I think the lizard people are probably going to wake up in about an hour or so. They're going to lick their eyeballs clean so they can see what's going on. And they're going to say, okay, I want some of that. And we would probably see some sort of like pumps and dumps coming. A little bit of volatility wouldn't shock me as people do start getting liquidated on both sides here in the altcoin market. So be careful with leverage right now. I don't really think it's a great idea. I think small spot DCAs isn't bad right now. And just kind of let those puppies ride. But again, if we do get another dip, that's when I think we're going to see some real opportunity. And I'll probably, like on XLM, for example, if we do see this bad boy pull back to say like, 33, 34, I'll probably open up some sort of like leverage long trades down here with tight stop losses because I do think I could ride that thing back up towards the top side of that channel. So again, I'll keep you updated as it all does play out. But all in all, the market's not looking too dang on bad right now. Many of our alts are looking decent. Another one that's actually looking pretty good that I almost forgot to mention was Qubit. You guys know I have Qubit. Qubit's actually up about 5% over the last day. But if you look at the last 7 days, it's actually holding up really well. It's up 50% in the last 7 days, guys. I do remember, I think it was because they got shouted out by Alex Becker or something, which was pretty damn cool, obviously, because I have a bag of Qubit. And we can see it's actually holding up pretty well. If you look at the last month, I mean, it's really holding up strong. 40% over the last month, really finding a lot of stability in these pullbacks. And it just goes to show how strong the community is. So I do really like to see what I'm seeing here from the Qubit team, especially for a crypto that's just around the $10 million market cap range. It's actually holding up pretty good. So shout out to the Qubit team. They're doing a really good job right now. And again, shout out to Inspect as well. That thing's looking pretty dang solid over the last day. But all in all, that's kind of my update for the day on the majority of the altcoin market. Let me know your thoughts. Are you buying any alts right now, selling any? Let us know down in the comments below if you are. And of course, while you are down there, don't forget, if you want to start trading some alts, you can sign up to BTCC and you can go get up to $10,000 in bonuses and rewards. So feel free to go check that all out. Let me know what you think. And if you did enjoy today's video, smash that like button on your way out. And I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.